Greetings, nerds. This is Will Pope, producer of the Senior Nerd Podcast. Thank you for joining me on my spoiler review of Star Trek Picard, Episode 3-8, Surrender. This is an episode that was written by Matt Okorma and directed by Deborah Campermer. This is, I noted, a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched this episode, stop now and go watch it. But let's jump right into it, as I really want to really just jump off with the most exciting thing I think of this episode, which was seeing the original crew, the original seven, back together for the first time in a very, very, very long time. Now I know Denise Crosby and Will Wheaton were also part of the original crew from season one, but the seven here are the ones who have been throughout the entire series, and I have to say I really, really enjoyed this moment because it felt earned and organic. It wasn't contrived. Each principal cast member had a good story this season, sprinkled in the appropriate moments, so that when we finally did get this moment of them around the table, it felt real, and it was as a fan, I really, really appreciated the fact that they did it this way. So I thought it was a really overall solid episode, but I just really wanted to start off there because that was just to me one of the highlight of them sitting around that conference table. But the episode itself, we start with Vadic very satisfied on the bridge, uh, but we also have a very brutal Vadic, and how she was using the crew of the Titan as pawns to get to Jack Crusher. Uh, it was a very, also a very illuminating moment between Shaw and Seven as far as their approaches to things. For example, Seven was really down on Captain Shaw saying, Seven, you should have, Hanson, as he calls her, as he continues to dead name her, blow the turbo lift and that they wouldn't be out of this. But then, of course, Seven's like, I don't trade lives. So it was really a good back and forth to see their interactions again as far as their approaches to command and to uh, situations. And so Vadic, was utilizing that, and whenever we got to Beverly, Jack, and Jean Luc talking, of course, Jack is feeling very, very, um, torn and very, very distraught because he's being used this way, and so many people are dying, trying to save him. And I'm glad that they continue to reference that in the series, that it's you're showing that he really does care, and I thought that was very important note that they don't just kind of gloss over the fact that all these people, whether it's primary characters, secondary characters, whatever, are being murdered because of trying to protect him and keeping him from Vadic. So I think that was very important. Speaking of Vadic, this hats off to Amanda Plummer. She has been killing it this season, no pun intended, as far as playing this character. To keep having a tight enough rein on it, not to lure into cartoonish or mustache twirling or silliness, but conveying that sense of evil, and also making it clear as we move along that she was a lieutenant to whoever the face is, and as far as their big picture goal as far as is going to be here, we'll get to this week now with Frontier Day. So I think that was very, very, hats off to her. If we don't see Vadic again, she definitely goes down as one of the top three probably that we've seen in Star Trek. Moving to Deanna and Will, of course, they have been reunited on the strike. Will was captured earlier, and we have a very big moment really for them getting into what caused the estrangement between them. Clearly was again the flowing from the death of their son Thad. Deanna, acknowledges to Will that she was not only feeling his pain, but also everyone else's pain because she's a beta Z. She's empathic. She feels those things, but also she was honest with him that she was trying to take the pain away, and then Will was honest to her. It's like, look, I needed my grief. You took the ability for me to move on and to grieve because of the things that you did. So, it was a very, very honest moment between these two characters. And I love the humor back and forth between them. I mean, it was the old record charm and everything. But it was a very, very good, solid moment between the two of them. And then, of course, when we do get Worf rescuing them, very, very awesome moment as well, as far as the humor, and also acknowledging the relationship between Worf and Deanna, because that was something that was very a big part of the seventh season of Star Trek Next Generation, where Worf and Deanna were a couple, and it led to a situation, at least in an alternate timeline, where Will and Worf were estranged from each other because of Will blaming Worf from not allowing him and Deanna to ever get together, and then Deanna, sadly, in that alternate timeline, passes away. So so again, it was a lot of nuggets for history there with the series, but they played it off a very humorous way too, with Will. It's like inappropriate Worf. I mean, come on, let's really. But I really like that moment. But Jonathan Frakes has definitely been an MVP and gave us some great work for his character this season. Let's move now quickly to Data, because again, that was another big moment here in this episode, needing to get control of the Titan, and Geordi telling Captain Picard. Not only one, I love the way the scene opened with with how they proved to one another that they are not changelings, especially with Geordi's pedestrian taste in wine at best. But I love the running gag this season about Chateau Picard. But getting back to I digress, and getting back to Data, this was a very pivotal moment in Star Trek, because and this is why Star Trek works many times with these types of things, because it was a very ship of Theseus moment here, as far as how they brought Data back when they were having to pull down the partition, and really getting into the questions of who we really are. And it was philosophical questions, and how it was explored between Data and Lore. And as far as Lore looking at Data's memories as conquest, and where Data was like, these are my memories, these are what make me who I am, whereas Lore was looking at these as possessions and prizes and things that he can earn and steal from Data. And it was beautiful how they used this moment to bring back this new form of Data, and 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 how really showing us the core of who Data is and who Lore is, and bringing them together to create this new version of Data. But also, it also honored Data's passing in the prior two times that he died. Of course, the series noted that he died. Clearly he died at the end of Nemesis, which they were able to find little bits of him in the remnants of the Shimtar and Sungwas, and was able to download those into his lab that we saw in season 1 of Picard. But also how Data did pass away at the end, and they honored that Data passing, but then they also pulled the two together. And then also in this scene, I have to note that, as I mentioned before, Denise Crosby, who played Tasha Yar, I'm glad they used her little memory hologram there to again reference a character from the first season, and someone who Data was first intimate with, and how he cherishes that memory. So that was a very awesome moment. And then of course the moment with Data and Geordi talking about this new moment and Data's new lease on life, and how their friendship is the thing that no matter what iteration of Data, whether it's Data Lore or Data before, that is always at its core they're always going to be friends. And I got choked up thinking about that because they are two one of the relationships in Star Trek that has endured through all iterations and sticks out like many others like O'Brien and Bashir and Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. So those are really, really, really cool things. Of course, they do retake the ship, get a nice moment here with the Titan hurrying to Frontier Day to deal with the crisis. And again, as I did at the beginning of the episode, we get the wonderful moment here together. Beverly and Deanna had a nice moment there at the table. Data, when Geordi introduced them to new Data to everyone. Again, it was just very, everybody just the little note. Now you see he had the 4 pips on his collar, so he's a captain now, which was very nice, given that on a mission that clearly there's some Beta can things that in Admiral Picard see them all together on the screen together. At the end of the episode, Jack and Deanna have a counseling session together. Jack sees the red door. She figures it out. Whenever she first comes on the Titan, she realizes that there's a darkness. And clearly it wasn't a changeling because she can't read changelings. That's been established in Star Trek that Beta Zeds can't read changelings. So we learn, she says there's a darkness on this ship. And I want to use that as a segue to who I think the big bad really is. I know there's a face that's out there that may or may not have survived Vadic's demise in this episode, but I'm thinking of all the little breadcrumbs and things that's out there that somehow all of this revolves around Locutus. And I think some of the things that have been said, of course, in this episode, when Jack came on the bridge and Vadic and Seven decided not to go with the rest of the crew to the observation lounge, Vadic said, "It's fitting that you're here." There's also clearly, stealing Picard's body. I theorized in the past that one of the reasons why they wanted Picard's body was to use those remnant Borg parts that are in there. And the red eyes, of course, now are very reminiscent of the red scanner that Picard had on his eyepiece when he was Locutus aboard. Some other little breadcrumbs, something Terry Matalas said, the clues have been there at the beginning. When the season started, we had the log entry from The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1. And so that there's another piece, and then also the Hellbird virus that was a retcon, but we learned that virus that the Borg used to infiltrate the Enterprise D. So again, another little breadcrumb that's out there. Another big one that I think is this whole concept of legacy, and what worse legacy could Jean-Luc pass on to Jack, worse than the Irumodic syndrome, than to be Locutus. And maybe that's where Data was like in the prior episode, where he said the diagnosis of Irumodic syndrome may have been an error. Maybe that brain malfunction or thing is those remnants in it, and given that we learned that it took the prefrontal cortex of Picard's brain whenever they stole his body, we learned that as missing. Makes sense that maybe those were the places where we did see where at the end of Family where Picard had bandages on his forehead and stuff from the Borg implants and stuff, and we know that clearly from Seven with her, she still has those implants visible on her. So those are things that all lead to my thinking that somehow it's clearly tied to Locutus. I don't know if the face is something that is extra dimensional entity that's pulling all these things together. There's a shadow of Locutus or the Borg Queen or something. But I think those all lead to that. Also, with the title of the next episode, Vox. I mean, Vox is Latin for voice, and we've been hearing Beverly's voice every time that Red Door has been present in the season. And some theories out there that maybe the voice has something to do with Beverly possibly being a changeling, and hearing the log entries and stuff would lend to that as far as some other things that happened this season. But I don't know if that's this late in the season. I don't know if they would go there, but then again, they might. And Beverly could be an imposter and hearing those log entries to mess with Jack's mind and stuff like that. But and of course, there's the power rate theory as well. But I do think it has something to do with Locutus. I do think it has something to do with the hive mind construct with the Borg, especially given now that we've learned that starships talk to one another and link to one another. We learned this season, and that's very reminiscent of something that happened in Prodigy as well, where a virus was like spread through various starships and Star Trek Prodigy. So, spoiler alert for folks who haven't watched that, go check that series out. It's very good. But so those are all things that are out there that definitely could that lend to the Borg and Locutus in particular. That is a true big bad for this season. So let me know what your thoughts are as far as this. Of course, also the Wolf 359 is another breadcrumb that Shaw mentioned. His experience with Wolf 359. So all these little sprinkle things lead back to Locutus, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So drop a comment below in the comments and let me know what you think is the big bad and what the actual end game is here in Star Trek Picard. But we'll be back this week with our main show. We'll be talking about Star Trek Picard episode 8 again, as far as hearing from my host of our podcast, Sarah Belmont. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and also follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you like your podcasts in audio form on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, and if you go visit our website, www.cinenerdpodcast.com, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. We're doing some more Star Trek Picard, finishing out with this, but also probably be doing reviews on Strange New Worlds when it drops in June. And like, comment, and we really do appreciate it. Live long and prosper.